Hi everyone, Anthony Morganti here. I'm doing a video on Luminar Neo today for two reasons. The first reason is that last week I was contacted by someone at Skylum Software asking me if I wanted to offer to my viewers a discount code that will save them 30%. I said, yeah, of course. So they gave me the discount code, and with it you'll be able to save 30% off everything they sell at Skylum Software. In the description below this video will be a link to their website along with that discount code. The discount code is going to work for 3 days, so it should work through Wednesday, May 17th. Also, they just so happen to be having a Mother's Day sale that ends tomorrow. I did check, and the discount code does work on top of that Mother's Day sale. So if you act quickly, you actually could save yourself quite a bit of money on anything they sell at Skylum Software. The second reason why I'm doing this video on Luminar Neo is because with Luminar Neo, you could replace a sky. And you know that I often say that OcuDrone sells the best sky images, the best third-party sky images available, in my opinion, are OcuDrone skies. Recently, OcuDrone released a new set of sky images, actually 4 different packages of panoramic sky images. And I want to show a few of those. And Rob at OcuDrone gave me a 30% off discount code that you could use on everything they sell there as well. So not only the panoramic sky images, but all their sky images. And in the description below this video, I'll have a link to OcuDrone's website and that 30% off discount code. Now we're going to be working on this image. Now, believe it or not, this is a panorama. You can see the blink pixels around the edges. Typically, when I'm going to shoot a panorama, I like the sky to have some drama to it, some clouds, a sunset, something interesting. And usually when the conditions are like this, I won't bother shooting a panorama. But because I wanted to make this video, and this morning, there were no clouds in the sky at all. I actually went out this morning to this area, the Erie Basin Marina in Buffalo, and I shot some panoramas. And this happens to be a 3-image panorama. I held the camera vertically and took 3 images. Now, unfortunately, Luminar Neo doesn't have automatic panorama stitching. You can't stitch a panorama in Luminar Neo. There's a lot of videos out there on how to do it. But it's actually a multi-step process, and it's not super easy. Maybe in the future I'll do one, but I really believe that soon Skylum Software will add automatic panorama stitching to Luminar Neo. Now, until then, what I did is I took the 3 images into Photoshop, and in Photoshop I stitched them together. This is the output from that stitched together panorama. It is a DNG raw file, and no editing outside of that stitching has been done to it. So we're going to do a complete edit in Luminar Neo to this image, and we're going to add a new sky to it. Now, as I mentioned, it's an unedited raw file, and I still have these blank pixels around the edge from the stitching of the panorama. So I'm going to go to the crop tool first. Now, I don't want to keep the original ratio. I just want to get rid of those blank pixels and maybe crop it a little tighter too. So I'm going to go to a free crop, and I'm going to pull the bottom down till just all of those blank pixels are gone. I'm going to pull the left side in till the blank pixels are gone, the right side in till the blank pixels are gone. Did I get all of them on the left? And I'll pull the bottom up, maybe a little more. Maybe I'll pull it right about to there so that this bottom rule of thirds line is going right along the horizon line. I think that looks pretty good. So we're going to click apply. So it'll do the crop, and now we got rid of all those blank pixels, and it looks a little bit more like a panorama should look. Now I'm going to do my normal editing to it. I start with the develop tool here. I'm going to stay with the Luminar default camera profile. And usually what I like to do is I like to get rid of the hotspots by pulling the highlights down. In this case, the whole image is kind of drab and a little bit low key anyway, so I'm going to bring the highlights down just a little bit. Then what I want to do is go to the shadows and open those up so I could see the darkest areas. I could see some detail into the darkest areas. So I'm going to pull those up quite a bit. But this is the important part. Right now I've made the image relatively flat. I'm going to bring the contrast back with the blacks and whites. And the way I like to do it is I like to hit the J key on my computer. So I turn on the clipping indicators. Then what I'll do is I'll go to the blacks and I'll pull that down. You can see if I pull it down too far, we start to get this blue overlay on the image. That means I'm clipping the shadows. When you clip the shadows, that means there's absolute black there now. There's no detail there. And if I print it, just black ink is going to be put down on the printer paper. Now, typically, I don't like to clip the blacks a lot, but I do like to clip them a little bit, usually. I would say a human portrait or even maybe a wildlife image, I might not clip blacks at all. But on landscape images, I'll clip them a little bit. I like to get a full tonal range that way. Now, similarly with whites, I'll move that to the right. Now, if I go too far, now in this case, it's not happening. Oh, it is over here. See over here in this building, we got this red overlay and we got these buildings in here. There's some red overlays. That means I'm clipping the highlights. When you clip the highlights, that means there's no detail there anymore. And if I print it, no ink would be put down on the paper at all. Now, usually I don't like to clip the highlights at all. I like to bring them right to the edge of clipping. So I'll just keep pulling that down till all that red dissipates. And to me, at least for my landscape images, that's a good white point. So I've set the black and white points the way I like them. So I'm going to turn the clipping indicators off by tapping the J key again. So you can see the blue that was left there is gone. So I've done that so far. That looks pretty good. Now what I want to do, I think, is I want to add some detail to the building and the land in here. But unfortunately, I don't want to add that same detail to the water. Let's say, if there were clouds up here, I probably wouldn't want to apply it to the clouds either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a new layer, and then I'm going to mask that layer so that the detail tool only affects the building and the land and not the water, basically. So how to do that is we're going to go over here and see on the existing layer, I'm just going to right-click right on it, and we're going to duplicate that layer. Now, once that layer is duplicated, it will take just a second. You'll see there'll be two layers over here. Now, make sure you're clicked on that top layer. When you duplicate a layer, you'll automatically be brought to layer properties, and I'll come back to that. So we're just going to close that down right now. But what we are going to do is we're going to add that detail that I'm talking about. Now, I didn't mask anything yet, so the detail is going to be added everywhere, but that's all right. Let me show you what it does. I'm going to turn small details up, and you can see how it's sharpening the water, or it's making the water look kind of weird. I don't want that, but I want it on the buildings, especially maybe on these rocks. I don't care about the buildings. That's fine. So we'll add some large details. So we're adding a lot of detail here, and I'm really sharpening it like crazy sharp, right? All right, now if you look at, I over sharpened it a lot. You can see the water is really bad. The land probably is pretty bad as well. The building is just on the borderline of being bad maybe. So I'm going to pull everything down just a little bit, but I just wanted to let you see the effect, what I'm trying to do. And it looks pretty good now. The building looks a lot better. The land looks pretty good, but the water is just way too sharp. I don't want the sharpening on the water. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to the layer properties. We're going to go to masking, and we're going to mask with a brush. And we're going to erase the adjustments. So make sure you clicked on erase from the water. Now let me just kind of do like a part in the middle here and then come off it. You see how this part now I erased the sharpening from it? And let me try to do a little maybe bigger part. So you see how you like that, there's the sharpening that's gone. So I'm basically only applying that detail adjustment to the building, the land, the other buildings, and a little bit on the sky, of course, but there's nothing really in the sky that's being affected. So what I'll do is I'll get a larger brush by hitting the right bracket key. The left bracket key makes it smaller. And I'll come in here and I'll get rid of it all here, and we'll just feather it into the land. I'll just do a quick job here. Okay, let that do its thing. That looks pretty good. Maybe we'll get a smaller one here. and do maybe a better job out in this area here. Okay, so now, fine, looks pretty good. Now, what we're going to do next is I could go over here and I could like duplicate layers again or remove layers, stuff like that. So that's how you control layers over there. So we're not going to do anything yet. I think we'll replace the sky now. So we'll go to the sky tool. Let's scroll it up. Now I mentioned that there's new skies from OcuDrone. They're panorama skies. Now you don't have to use them just on a panorama. You could put them in any image you want. But I specifically shot this panorama so I could demo these skies. And I mentioned at the top that there were 4 different packages. The first is dreamy tropical sunset panoramas. Then there's reflections of indigo panoramas. There's sweeping azure blue panoramas. And there's uncommonly dramatic panoramas. Gotta love his names too that they do. Now, I don't think a tropical sunset will work here, but I just want to show you these. So I'll open these up real quick and we'll just click on a couple. You can see what these look like. Now, of course, the lighting doesn't match at all, but I just wanted to show you a few of these. Just how wonderful his images are. His sky images are great. When I say him, it's Rob DeVecchio. He owns OcuDrone. So some great images there, but we're not going to use tropical sunset. Let's take a look at reflections of indigo and see what that might look like. I'll click on a couple here. Now we need something that has the light on the far left or the far right. If it's on the far right and I need it on the left, I could always flip it, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. So let's just try a couple here. So many. Did I do that one? I think I did that one. Nope. All right, so that one's kind of cool. The lighting doesn't match, but I like the clouds in that one. Okay, let's try the other pack, the sweeping azure blue panoramas. Some, yeah. Just click through, give you an idea what they all look like. Well, I'm not going through all of them, but a lot of them look like. And then we'll do that last package, uncommonly dramatic. So these storms are coming in. So there's so many to choose from. Now, nothing's matching the lighting in this package that I saw too well. Let's go to these blue azure ones again. And we'll see. This one looks, you can see how the left sides of the clouds are lit and the right sides aren't. This is coming close to matching the color pretty well there. So that looks pretty good. Let's just go with that. Now, I mentioned that if it was, let's say, lit backwards, let's say I need the light on the left. Let's say I had one that had the light on the right. I could just click flip here and flip it horizontally. But this one seems to match fairly good. I could adjust the horizontal position. This is the horizon position. I always say horizontal. The vertical position. And the horizontal position. There we go. So the horizon position is the top one. The horizon position is the bottom one. And we have mask refinement. If you see it's like, this is more applicable around trees that I found. If you have tree branches going around, it just doesn't look right. You could try moving these 3 sliders and it seems to make it look better. In this case, it looks pretty good. So I don't need to do anything here. Scene relighting. So I could relight the original scene a little bit to try to get it to better match. And relight saturation. And if there was a human in here, sometimes the light on the human won't look right. And you could relight the human. In this case, there's not a person in this shot. This water has a severe chop on it, or a pretty good chop on it. So there's really no reflection to worry about. There's really nothing there. You can see that the lighthouse is barely reflecting. And you could, try to move this around, but it's not going to really show anything there. Now, defocus, if you were shooting and you had other stuff behind the main subject that was blurry, it wouldn't look right if you had a perfectly focused sky in the shot. So you'd like to defocus it. If your original image has grain in it, the sky image doesn't, it wouldn't look right. So you're going to add grain. You could add atmospheric haze to the sky if you need to. You could add warmth to the sky, moving it to the right. Now it says warmth, but if you move it to the left, you'll make it cooler. And you could affect the brightness of the sky so we can make it brighter. In this case here, we need to make it a little brighter to make it better match the scene. So that looks pretty good. So that's good. We're done with the sky, I think. And overall, we could come in and do some touch-ups. Maybe we want to do, I don't know, let's see here, something with color, let's say. So we'll go to color. We could add some saturation, a little bit of saturation, not too much. And maybe we'll jump down and we'll go to color harmony, and we'll add a bit of warmth. I think that looks pretty good. It's starting to look a little more like it fits. And finally, I think we'll just go to the vignette, and we'll add a bit of a vignette. Just a little bit. That's it. So there is our edit using an OcuDrone panorama sky. And as I mentioned, you don't have to use the OcuDrone Panoramic Skies in a panorama. You could use them in any image. They'll work in any image. But in this case, I think this one fits fairly well. And that's my edit on this image I actually took this morning because there wasn't a cloud in the sky this morning. And typically, as I mentioned, if the sky's boring, I'm not going to bother shooting a panorama. But that's changed now that we have these skies from OcuDrone that we could just plop in there and make it look a lot more interesting. Thank you, everyone who watches my videos. I really do appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys soon.